everybody here at Flowing with the Spiritual Cafe. We came on live a few moments ago, and somehow we got we popped off somehow, but we're back on again. So just in case anybody's missed anything, I'd just like to welcome our lovely guest, Jeremy Freeman, and of course George Freeman, who is our co-host in Flowing with the Spiritual Cafe, and he is the brother of Jeremy Freeman, who is well, I'm going to let George introduce him. So, George, would you like to
All
introduce your brother
right.
again? Yeah.
Yeah. So here we go for second try on this, and so Jeremy and I are obviously brothers, and I work for Jeremy. He is he's a IFBB professional bodybuilder, but after he finished his did a lateral move from his bodybuilding, he decided he wanted to help people by developing supplements. And so several years down the road here, because he went pro almost 20 years ago, he had bought equipment to manufacture supplements down here in Florida. And I had been in manufacturing for 20 years. I came down here, I looked at it, seen, I sort of helped him troubleshoot, and then ended up coming down here. So I'm here helping Jer to produce product brain formula called Upgrade. And so that's what all these supplements, the Freeman Formula line, is for health, for well-rounded health, optimal health for mind, body, and spirit. So yeah, so in this, he's here to talk about aligning the body, mind, and spirit.
Hi everybody, I'm glad to be here, and thanks for having me. To talk about George a little bit, again, before we were talking, I just talked about his passion for the Gene Keys and how he just lights up when he talks about them. And I know he's known as a Gene Key Junkie. And, it's a great thing when somebody has purpose for something. Purpose was what drives everything. And when you find it, you want to harness it, and you want it to really make good things happen. So, and that's what George is doing with these Gene Keys. It's something that makes so much sense to him. And I know that he wants to share with as many people as he can. So I see that passion in him. So I'm glad to be here with this group of people. I know that's a group of people that he really enjoys, and that it's his fellowship, his group of people that, he can share his excitement with. And so I'm glad to be here. If you guys, I don't know if we're going to do this question. Do you guys want to do this question answer, or just talk?
For me, go on, George.
I mean, what were you going to say, Akushi? Is it going to be question answer, or would you?
I was going to say, whatever we can go with the flow. I have some questions as well. So whatever you want to do. I mean, I've been looking at your website. I just want to say to people who are listening that I have got a connection with Jeremy, because I hear that your body shape was used as Mr. Incredible in The Incredibles.
Yes, they imaged Mr. Incredible after me. It used to be on the Pixar website. It said that Bob, the main character, was imaged after professional bodybuilder Jeremy Freeman. And the reason that happened was back in 2000 and 2001, I was the most photographed bodybuilder in the world. I was in over 1,000 magazines. And so it was very visible. So it's easy for them to be able to find my image. And of course, there's a lot of video too. So they would tape my pictures up everywhere at Pixar, and they actually ran into one of the illustrators in the airport. And a few years back, they said, I met this guy, and I thought he was a bodybuilding fan. He said, "Oh, you're Jeremy Freeman." And I'm like, "Yeah." I thought he's a bodybuilding fan because that happens to me all the time in airports, because a lot of the security guys lift weights and they've seen me in magazines. And so, but it wasn't. It was an illustrator. He said, "Oh man, I was one of the illustrators for Pixar." He goes, "We had your picture taped up everywhere in the studio," and he goes, "We had video of you and everything." And so it's pretty cool. But Mr. Incredible was imaged after me. They didn't put that on the second one because my lawyers contacted them and say, "Hey, what are the stipulations of this?" I wasn't looking for any monetary gain out of it. I just thought it was interesting that they could use my image for something. I just wanted to find out, how that works. And they said they can use the image of anybody as long as they're not saying that that's Jeremy Freeman. But, it's an honor, really, essentially, to be, to have a Mr. Incredible imaged after me. And my wife says, that's it's appropriate. She goes, "Because you are Mr. Incredible."
So that was going to be my next question, Jeremy. That was going to be my next question. I mean, does does your wife, what's her name?
Her name is Kim.
Does Kim come in and catch you in the cake tin with cake all around your mouth? Some film.
No.
But I
No,
loved it.
but one of my daughter's names is Violet. Just so
Oh,
you
is
know,
it?
I have identical twin girls, which George may have showed
Oh,
you
yeah.
or talked about before, because they're just a joy. If you know, there's everybody has different energies, and we've all dipped, bumped into different people that have different energies, and these girls just have a magnetic energy that just sucks you in and pulls you in, and you just can't help smiling, and they just steal your heart. It's just a great thing. And so they're just the most beautiful identical twins, and they're here right now just to show you how to have fun and to explore, having fun. And it's just fun to see them every day. It's impossible not to think about them and not smile.
Yeah.
Do you
So
know,
one of my daughters is named Violet. That's the point there.
your daughters are loved by the Gene Key travelers, because we see some of their artwork, and they're a joy. Anyway, the reason why I mentioned the Incredibles for a moment, because I know you've done so much more, and I know George is eager to share with you. Um, the reason why I mentioned the Incredibles is because I came second prize for Elastigirl in a fancy dress party about 10 years ago. So
That's awesome.
yeah, I loved it.
Mm.
Anyway, I do have some questions, but I really want to hear about what you do and how it
Well,
came
I do a
about.
number of things. I owned a wellness center for over 25 years. And in that center, our whole mission was to empower people to be their best. Some people would call it a gym, but it wasn't like a gym. It was a very boutique center that looked high end, and when you walked in, it looked very glamorous. It smelled good. We used all the senses so that when you walked in, it had a very. We used the essential oils to wake up their senses, and of course, it was visibly pleasing. And we had a very specific system to be able to really help engage people so they felt comfortable as soon as they walked in the door. So when if someone came in, you didn't stand behind the counter, so you had something between you. You walked out in front of the counter, and you shook their hand, and you held that hand for 2 or 3 seconds to help increase oxytocin so that you can have a connection, and you're ready to listen, and they're ready to share their life with you, so we can see how we can help them. So essentially our mission was to help people become their best selves. And for a lot of people, of course, they needed to lose a lot of weight. And so, we focused on the body a lot there, because, if you're suffering, if you have pain, if you have chronic pain, if you have disease, it's literally impossible to manage your mind. Think about any time that you've had a cold, or you've been just so drained from having that cold, or if you've even hurt yourself and you're in pain, chronic pain. It's hard to manage your mind when you're in that state. So what we help people do is we try to help align the body first, because once you can align the body and you start, using the body as the energy power plant that it is, and you start to optimize that energy power plant by creating cellular unity throughout the entire body, and starting getting rid of the cellular discord that happens with all the acids, the toxins, the carcinogens that we put into our bodies. We start helping to clean people out so that they start feeling that vibrant energy that can help them use their mind properly. And so I gave you a little handout. I don't know if you can put that up on the screen. I hand this out at some of the speaking that I do. I have a seminar that I do called Unleashed. And it really essentially Unleashed is about unleashing the mind so that we can optimize our entire outcome. So as you'll see here, it says the connection between spirit, mind, and body. And on the top, I call spirit, essentially I call spirit all the things that we can't see. It's all the things around us that we can't see. And a lot of people that live from an ego space, which again, we saw ego is edging God out. They only live by their senses. They're always trying to please their senses, for their taste by eating, overeating. You guys know the senses. I don't have to go through all that. The bottom line is that the things that we can't see, I call spirit. So essentially, you could say that, and everything has a different frequency. You can see on the scale right here, it's a thought frequency scale. It goes all the way from love, joy, gratitude, faith, all the way down, and it's a positive 10 frequency. It actually increases cellular unity on that end. And then you go all the way down that scale to like neutral in the middle. And then of course, you can see that, boredom and it keeps going down that scale until you're down to fear, and you're down to hate and to shame and feeling stuck. And of course, when we're feeling those type of thoughts affect us on either end. And the great thing is this, is that we've all been given conscious choice to be able to choose what we're going to think. And so again, when we use spirit properly and we align it in the mind properly, the things we think and how we think, it dictates what every single cell in our body does, every time, all the time. So we consciously get to choose what we're going to think. So in the mind, if you choose thoughts of love, gratitude, joy, excitement, those type of things, then we can consciously think those thoughts. And then of course, it subconsciously creates the chemicals that tell the whole entire body what to do. So we've all been in a situation before where we've been in love. And so essentially when we're thinking thoughts of love, again, we get filled with all kinds of different hormones that make us feel good. Our body is a chemical power plant. And so again, when you think thoughts of love, it has a higher frequency. And of course, it creates cellular unity. It lends electrons to the cells in your body, and it helps, we feel lighter. Okay, and we feel like we could do anything, and you can't wait to see that person or do that thing that you're in love with, whatever it is. So the things we think from the conscious perspective are subconsciously creating those chemicals that tells the whole body what to do. And then it gives us the energy to get up and do what we need to do. So that's aligning mind, body, and spirit. But on the other end of that spectrum, we can also be fearful and feel stuck or angry. And of course, those same thoughts will create different chemicals, stress hormones, that end up sending the body into a negative direction. So in my facility, we would work with people to help them really optimize their body, to lose weight and get in shape. So let's say somebody came into my facility and they were consistently caught in a pattern of thinking on the negative end of that thought frequency scale. Well, it becomes a pattern because we do the same things relatively over and over again, and we get into, and we are habitual as humans. And so essentially we end up doing the same things, same patterns day in and day out. And so what happens with these people is, let's say that person comes in, they want to lose, 40, 50 pounds, but they have a negative thought process. Well, when you're thinking in the negative area, you're producing chemicals like cortisol, adrenaline, stress hormones, about 1,200 different chemicals. And what happens is when you're thinking those thoughts and you have cortisol in the bloodstream, when cortisol is in your bloodstream, it tells your body, I need to take the path of least resistance because you're already under stress. So when that chemical is in the bloodstream, what happens is it starts to break down muscle tissue, because muscle tissue is easy to break down. It won't break down fat. And if their goal is to break down fat, it won't do it at that time. Okay. Instead, what it'll do is it'll start breaking down muscle tissue. Muscle tissue is metabolic. It'll help you speed up your metabolism when you have more, and it'll slow it down if you have less. So essentially, you're catabolic, breaking down the system and slowing your metabolism down, producing an enzyme that converts carbohydrates or sugars into fatty acids, making you store fat. So essentially, you're going the opposite direction just from the way that you think. Not only that, but because you're producing stress hormones, now the blood flows out of the visceral system, out of digestion, so that you're not digesting your food properly, and you're not eliminating properly. So when you're not eliminating properly, getting rid of those toxins, they back up into the colon and they start releasing what are called endo and exotoxins into the bloodstream. And essentially, it starts to spill into the bloodstream, and now your bloodstream is full of crap, for essentially, okay, and causing more toxicity, toxicity within the system. But not only that, when you have those stress hormones, now the blood is now in the limbic part of the brain, the back of the brain, where it's your stress center. So essentially, you're reactive. Whenever you're under stress, you're reactive to everything, not proactive. And so you usually lash out when you're in that state. And the majority of people operate from this perspective. And that's one of the reasons why, of course, you guys do meditation, because meditation helps bring that blood from the limbic brain to the prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is where you want that blood to be, because that's where we have clear, concise, creative, focused thought. That's when we're in control to be able to help us move forward and do things productively. So essentially, again, just from the way somebody thinks, they can dictate their outcome. So if we know that we can align ourselves with spirit and use spirit properly, which is thought. That's the way I look at it. Okay. It's part of us. It's universal power. And again, we get to use thought to be creative. Think about it. If you guys look around you, anything that you look at right now, from the phone you're looking at, to the computer, to the lamp, to the bed, whatever it is, it doesn't matter what it is, that it was first a thought or an idea, okay, that was held in the mind. And that thought was held in the mind until somebody either probably wrote it on paper first and foremost. So once you've written it down on paper, now you've materialized it. Okay. And then from there, you can come up with a plan, a structure, a blueprint that you can make it into something that is visible here on this planet. So again, we're all creators. And so we need to be able to use our spiritual faculties to be able to create. And so when we have ideas, don't let that idea flow by. Take that idea and write it down. I'm sure every one of you here are probably used to writing, but you should be writing every single day to be able to take those ideas and bring them into physical form and then act on that. Okay, our bodies are the vehicle that we have to be able to help move us forward. Yeah, you can scroll right down. That's fine. Scroll down so we can see the body. So when you see the body here, okay, when we've hold those thoughts, okay, of empowerment, when you have that idea that empowers you, that excites you, that gives you purpose, okay, that right there is what generates both a magnetic and an electric force field. So it's called electromagnetic. So our hearts, okay, so when we think it, that's powerful, but when we feel it, it's even more powerful. As a matter of fact, your heart has 100 times more, is more powerful, 100 times more powerful than the brain is. And it's actually 5,000 times more powerful magnetically than the brain is. So essentially, once you have thought something and you feel it, now you're putting it out to the world. Okay, that's your frequency. We always talk about raising your frequency. So essentially, the things you think, okay, that are on the higher frequency scale, okay, tell every cell in your body what to do. And again, you feel it in your heart, and then you put it out magnetically and electrically, and that's what you're putting out to the world. So essentially, that's what they mean when you say what you put out is what you get back. So if you're operating from that space of love, from gratitude, of joy, and you're putting that out there consistently to the world, that is what you get more of. But if you're sitting there focusing on what's wrong with your life, what you don't like with your life, what you can't stand with your life, or all the bad things that happened in the past, listen, the conscious mind, it has the ability to travel into the past, because we can close our eyes and we can focus on something that has happened in the past. And those thoughts that are in the conscious mind, if it's, let's say something bad happened to you in the past and you keep focusing on it, well, that thought in the conscious mind is a seed that's planted in the subconscious that creates the chemicals, okay, usually the stress hormones, and then it slows everything down. You're diminishing your power plant. Our bodies are a power plant. It's a energy system, a complex energy system. It's a power plant. So we want to be able to optimize that power plant. And the way you do that is with thoughts. So monitoring your mind is a must, because it will help you have better outcomes every time. Thought is the origin of every outcome. Let me say that one more time. Thought is the origin of every outcome. So if we can, most people are looking outside of themselves and outside of things that happen on the world and say, why is this happening to me? Well, essentially, we have to stop and look inside and start where everything starts. It starts with thought. It starts with spirit and how we decide to use spirit. Okay, we can either live in heaven by operating from a space of thoughts of love, joy, and gratitude, or we can live in hell by feeling stuck, feeling angry, feeling upset, being fearful. Because again, as I said before, when you think those thoughts of love, you feel light, okay? You feel energetic, you feel good, okay? But if you're feeling stuck, if you're feeling fearful, those cells now start to come together and everything feels heavy. We've all felt that heavy feeling, okay, where we feel closed in. Okay, so essentially that's what happens is we get closed in, everything feels heavy, and we don't know how to see outside of it. It's cloudy, and sometimes when we get in that space, we can't see outside of it. And of course, you're in a very victim space at that point. If you've thought those things like that over and over again, it's hard to be able to see past it, to see outside of it. It's like you're in a cloud of smoke and you can't see outside of it. So sometimes you need something dramatic to happen to pull you out of it. Now we live in a world of dichotomies, and that's essentially what you're seeing there in the thought frequency scale. It's a world of, it's a dichotomy from one end to the other. Well, the pH scale is the same way. It's a dichotomy. Okay, you have from 0 to 14. On one end, it's 100% acidic. On the other end, it's 100% alkaline. Well, our bodies operate at a number of different pHs. And so I won't get into that right now, but in order to be able to have optimal health in our bodies, we want to be mildly alkaline, because the acids in our system deteriorate the body. They cause cellular breakdown and pretty much cellular discord. And there's a way to be able to increase the amount of electrons, which essentially electrons actually help with alkalize the system, and they create cellular unity within the body. So we want to be able to lend those electrons, create cellular unity in the system, and that's done through increased alkalinity. So we show people how to align their body to increase that energy power plant, that system that's going to help them have better output, get up and do what they need to do. The bottom line is we can't sit and contemplate all the time. We can't just keep thinking about what we want to do and have those ideas. We have to now use this body we've been given to be able to get up and work, do the work. Okay, go after whatever it is that you want. Okay, so essentially we have a choice from a number of different perspectives. And if you think of everything in the universe, that's here really works on those dichotomies. Okay, energy goes from a higher to a lower potential. Okay, light goes from a higher to a lower potential. Heat goes from a higher to a lower potential. Thought goes from a higher to a lower potential. And of course, all those potentials have a different frequency, but we really essentially get to choose, okay, we're going to operate. Okay, in life, a lot of people say, let's just allow. And I know that in this community, allowing is part of what we do. But the bottom line is we have to set the intention of what it is that we want. Okay, plant the seed of what we want. And allowing is essentially letting it germinate, letting it grow, having faith to know that it is going to do what it's supposed to do. It's just like planting a garden. You've all heard this before. It takes about 77 days for a carrot to be able to grow. Okay, so, but essentially what you have to do is plant that seed first. That seed could sit there for years and years and years and do absolutely nothing and be fine, but nothing happens with it. You have to plant that seed in the ground first and foremost. You have to take care of that seed, cultivate it, let it germinate, and then 77 days later, you have to wait. Okay, you have to wait sometimes for the outcome, but just have faith to know that it's going to come about. Okay, what it is that you want in your life, you have to know what it is. You have to be clear of what it is, plant that seed, and then that's what allowing is. Okay, it's not just letting anything happen and be haphazard about what happens, because then you're just drifting. We don't want to drift. We want to be very purposeful in where we want to head. We've been given the gift to be able to choose what we're going to think. Okay, that's a big gift. Okay, so if you get to choose what you get to think, then you get to choose whether you're going to think empowering thoughts, okay, thoughts that are inspirational, love, joy, gratitude. And of course, we're going to always have both ends of that spectrum as part of the human experience. But we want to lend to the one side more often than not, because especially when we have that emotion, we're feeling that we want to plant those seeds strong and then have faith that things are going to come about. But you got to use the body. Okay, we got to get up, we got to get active, we got to do things that are going to move us forward on a daily basis. Every day you want to move forward and make progress. So again, that's how we align the body, the mind, and the spirit. That's a really general, fast explanation, but I think that you guys understand kind of the perspective that we're coming from. But the bottom line is you want to be able to have passion. When you find that purpose in your life, then you want to cultivate it. You want to put some emotion, some desire behind it, because when you put emotion and desire behind it, that's when you feel it in your heart. Okay. And that's when you increase the frequency of what you're feeling. And that's what you get to put out to the world. And that's your job. Okay. It's essentially your job. So essentially, if you're going to be the victor of your life and not the victim, okay, you want to be cautious of what's happening when you're using that conscious mind. Because again, what I said before is your conscious mind can travel. It can travel in the past and focus on the past and everything that's happened in the past that you don't like, you can't stand, and wouldn't want it to happen again. But if you're focusing on it, then you're creating those chemicals and you're feeling it right now. We could all think of a situation that's made us feel sad, low, and feel like we want to cry. But we can also stop and focus on a more empowering future. Okay, and you want to be able to create that purpose, that future, okay, because when you can forecast the future and see what that is, what it is that you want in your life, then you get to use the right now moment, the now moment. Okay, so again, we have future, we have past, we have future, and we have now. Okay, when you can direct yourself, okay, and say, here's where I'm going, here's where I'm headed, here's the impact I'm going to make in the world, here's the people I'm going to help, and here's the millions of people that I'm going to impact, well, then that right there is the future. Okay, so you want to focus on that future and then do something right now, here in this moment, that makes that future better. And that's why our tagline that you see in George's hat all the time, it says, live an extraordinary life now. And why does it say now? It says now because you have an opportunity right now to impact somebody else's life, to send love, okay, to give a compliment, to give a smile, okay, to give information that can help their day be better. So essentially, living an extraordinary life now is doing something now that empowers somebody else. That's our tagline in our business, because every one of my employees knew that their job was to create a wow moment, to create an extraordinary moment for the people that walked in through those doors, okay, by calling them by name, by helping them, by carrying grabbing an umbrella and walking them to the car under an umbrella and opening their door for them. Okay, just those extra things that you just don't see nowadays. Okay, essentially is giving them an extraordinary experience every time they walk through our doors, so they couldn't wait to come back, and we could help improve their life every day, some way, shape, or form. So that's why our tagline is live an extraordinary life now, because we have the opportunity right now in this moment to make an impact in our own lives and in the lives of the people around us. So I think that's probably good enough for me to kind of share what I do and why I'm here, what my purpose is. And I'll just say one more thing. You know, my area of study is biochemistry. And so that's one of the reasons why I've formulated all the products that I've formulated, the Freeman Formula line. And that line essentially is a product line that was built specifically for my clientele and for their need. And of course, the need of creating optimal wellness. And the product that George helps to manufacture is called Upgrade. And I call it Upgrade because it helps you upgrade your life. We live in a world where people are literally addicted to stimulant type products, whether it's a 5-hour energy, to a Monster, to a coffee, to any type of ergogenic stimulant. But essentially, when you drink those products, what's happening is it aligns with stress hormones, and it puts the blood in the limbic part of the brain. And now what happens is we are reactive, and we're in a stress state, even though we may not know it. Okay, sometimes people like that hyped up energy so they can get the body up and get it moving, but the mind is not in alignment because you've now put the blood in the limbic part of the brain where you're reactive. This Upgrade, what it does, it has some adaptogens in it. One of the most powerful adaptogens, that actually an adaptogen is a herb that helps you more adequately deal with stress. The way it does that is it helps pull that blood from the limbic part of the brain to the prefrontal cortex, the part of the brain where you have clear, concise, creative, focused thought. And when the brain is on, the whole body's on. So this product gives you energy, even though it's not an energy product. It turns that brain on and puts the blood in the right spot so that now you're on. So if you got to write a book, you got to speak, you have to do anything that's going to help drive your purpose forward. This product was made for that. So again, there's nothing else out there like it. It literally wakes the brain up. It helps protect the brain, and it literally puts the blood in the right spot so that we can get more done in our day, so we can make progress and literally impact the lives of the people around us. We can't sit around. We love to meditate. Meditation is great, and we should be doing it daily, especially when you find yourself in that space where your blood is in the limbic part and you feel yourself being reactive. Okay, taking that time to breathe slowly, just those 4 deep breaths in the course of a minute. Okay, that tells your brain automatically that I must be in a safe place, because if I was in danger, or if I was in stress or being chased or whatever, then I would be breathing heavy. So physiologically, what's happening when you just breathe slow like that and you shut out all of your senses, now is telling yourself, I must be in a safe place. And now the blood will travel from the limbic part to the prefrontal cortex. So again, that's why it's so important to be able to use meditation in your daily life, even if it's just for 3 to 5 minutes, just very, very quickly. You can really change your entire physiology and the chemicals that are happening inside. And that's the gift we have too. We get to be able to change what's happening internally in our bodies by using spirit properly, thought, okay, in the mind, to create the chemicals that create empowerment, okay, or if you choose, we can always choose to be depressed or be sluggish or slow or upset and angry. That's our choice. And sometimes you need to feel those low energy feelings to appreciate the high energy feelings. But listen, let's get to the real facts. We've all already felt too much, okay, of those negative feelings. There's not enough time now to make the impact that we all can make in our lives to stay down there or even visit there. Okay, you want to empower yourself and empower those around you by focusing continually on those higher energy, higher frequency thoughts of love, energy, and joy. And so essentially, let me just touch on real quickly, finish up with Upgrade. That's what Upgrade was made for. It was really essentially made to help people get back control of their minds, because people don't think that they're even control their minds. They let the external world dictate what they're thinking, how they're thinking, and then that creates the chemicals, and then they feel stuck themselves. They feel full of fear. Okay, we can empower ourselves. Listen, whether you believe in God or you don't believe in God, there is a universal power out there that penetrates, motivates, and moves the entire universe. And we get to be able to use that. I call that thought. Okay, that thought we get to use in our bodies, in our minds, to be able to ignite every cell in our body, to be able to light it up. Okay, so that we can let that out. Okay, so it says in the Bible that that God is omnipresent. God is omnipresent. He's everywhere. There's no place he's not. He's omnipotent, knows everything. And so listen, think about energy. Energy has the same description. Okay. It always has been. It always will be. It's all places at all times. So essentially there's one and the same. So again, we don't have to say God. God doesn't care if you could call him God or 1,000 different names. Water doesn't care if you doesn't matter if you could call it agua or whatever you want to call it. Doesn't matter. It just is. So we get to use that, okay, in our minds, okay, to create the energy in our bodies to have an impact. The bottom line is you have to know what your purpose is. Okay, when you know your purpose, okay, and what type of impact you want to make, okay, because essentially if it's just about you, it's going to be short-lived. If it's about making an impact in the world, making an impact in the people that are out there that you can align yourself with, that right there is what's going to excite you and keep you going. And it's going to help build that purpose, but you got to focus on that purpose every day. When you focus on that purpose, it creates what's called purpose-driven behavior. Okay, so it's a behavior where you're getting out there and doing something that you haven't been doing, okay, up to this point. You have to have purpose-driven behavior, and that right there is followed up by, I have a pillars that I use for goal attainment in my programs. And this is the pillars. Purpose number 1, purpose-driven behavior number 2, commitment and responsibility number 3. Essentially what happens is most people, when they have a goal or they have a purpose, they don't want to commit to it. We're in a world of a lack of commitment right now, where people are interested in a lot of things, but they're not committed with it to anything. Okay, they'll move on to the next thing very quickly, because of course we have 1,000 different things that we can find right here on the internet. Okay, right on, everything's at our fingertips. So you want to dive into one thing, okay, that really drives you, that one strong purpose, and that right there, be committed to it. Okay, and don't just get committed to it. Do what George is doing right now. Be obsessed with it. When you're obsessed with it, you can't stop thinking about it. You dream about it. You talk about it. Okay, and that right there is what's going to really light you up. It's really going to get those chemicals going, so that you can't wait for the next day to pop out of bed, to do your meditation, get this day going, so you move forward. Okay, that's the positive side of obsession. Okay, and then again, take responsibility. Responsibility is required, because we all want to blame somebody else. Listen, we've been doing it since we were children. Okay, I have identical twin girls, and when they do something wrong, they both blame it on the other one, because they don't want to get in trouble. Okay, we've been doing this since we were children, blaming everybody else for why, and to make sure that we don't get in trouble. We didn't do it, I didn't do it. So when things don't go our way, it's never our fault. We blame everybody else. Listen, everything's your fault. Everything's your fault, and accept it. Essentially, okay, take 100% responsibility for everything that you do all day long, okay, and the outcome that your life's at right now, okay, right now, okay, we're a product of our choices. So again, when we take commitment and responsibility, then and then only then will we really dial into the actions we need to take. And there's 4 different types of action. There's retreating, running away, okay, not doing anything, knowing that we should be doing it, but we run the other direction and give all the excuses, justifications, or reasons for why we don't do it. Okay, there's then doing nothing at all. Okay, which again, we make all the justifications for that as well. And then of course there is actually taking action. In today's world, though, people are set up with a very low standard of what is acceptable for just getting the work done. So I think this might be the most dangerous area, because people say, oh yeah, I did it, but did you do it wholeheartedly? Did you do it to the best of your ability? So essentially, the last level of action is called relentless action. Okay, it's massive relentless action, and the only time you'll ever take massive relentless action on anything is if you're fully committed to something, if you have a purpose that's strong inside of you, if you have purpose-driven behavior to take those actions. You won't do it otherwise. Okay, even a relationship, if you're not committed to it, are you going to really dive into it and do the extra work that it takes to be able to make it flourish? No, you're not. If you're in a job that you're not fully committed to, then you're going to be looking for another one. Okay, if you're not committed to the purpose that you have, then you'll find something different. But sometimes you might focus on 1,000 different things and never find that purpose, and get later in your life and figure, how am I here? Why have I not done the things that I thought I was going to do? It's because you never dialed into that purpose that's going to drive you to do the things that you haven't done before. Okay, relentless action is required. You want to do something every single day that drives you toward it. The next pillar is an indomitable spirit. An indomitable spirit is a never give up attitude. Okay, when something comes at you, you want to be able to find a way over it, around it, under it, no matter what, to continue to move forward. And the bottom line is your commitment is going to be tested daily. It will always be tested. So you got to make sure that you test it and you do the things that move in the right direction. If you don't, it's not a big deal. Get back up and move forward. Okay, you don't want to beat yourself up when you fail. We're always going to fail in our pursuit of any goal, of any purpose. It's always going to happen, and that's just something there that's going to help teach you. It's your learning ground. Okay, again, you guys have different names that you have for your shadow, your CD, and your gift. Okay, so with those things, a lot of those things are your learning experiences that have helped you come to who you are right now. Okay, so put away that shadow. Okay, that shadow isn't really who you are. The gift is who you are, and you want to empower that, and you want to ignite that, and you want to ignite other people with that. So essentially, that pillar again, the indomitable spirit, is key. You want to be able to, in that time when you get knocked off track, sometimes you have to become a problem solver in your own life. A problem solver, again, is required. You want to see yourself as a problem solver, because that right there will help you overcome those obstacles, those issues, and help get you back on track. The next pillar is called maintaining momentum. And this essentially is when you've done something enough over and over again, that now it becomes part of your normal habits, behaviors, and rituals. Okay, essentially that's when empowerment and transformation happens, is when we now have created new habits, new behaviors, new rituals that empower us to be that better version of ourselves. Because when you've done that, it becomes automatic to you. Now you've actually raised your frequency. You're living from a higher frequency on a daily basis. Okay, if you think that you're living at this higher frequency because you're saying positive things, but you're not feeling them, you're not acting them, then guess what? You're not at this frequency. You can talk about it all day long. You have to live it. You have to experience it. You have to become it. Okay, and that's when it becomes automatic. That's maintaining momentum, raising your vibrational frequency, because you're living it, you're experiencing it, you're putting it out there, you're getting it back. Okay, but again, that right there is maintaining momentum. It's when you've become that next level. So then what is the next level? Okay, you guys all, I talk about radio, and you guys have heard radio, you have all these different frequencies on the radio. Listen, if you're at 89.1, you can't hear what's going on at 107.9. So essentially, sometimes when you're talking at this higher frequency, like sometimes you guys are talking probably in the gene keys, people down here can't even understand what you're talking about. They don't get it. Okay, so you can't hear at 107.9 what's going, when you're at 89.1, you can't hear what's going on at 107.9. It doesn't make sense to you. So when you're sitting there talking about something and trying to explain something to somebody who needs to get out of their own way at 89.1, they're not hearing it. It doesn't make sense to them. Okay, so again, that's sometimes the law of allowing too. Send them love. Okay, because they don't understand you, don't put up that resistance and say they don't get it. They're not on my frequency. They're not this, they're not that. Okay, instead, just send them love, give them joy, give them a smile, give them a hug, whatever it is, and then let them find it. Okay, you just got to continually nudge them with love. And again, essentially, love is essentially the law of growth. Okay, the law of growth. Okay, if you think about a garden only grows if you give it attention. It's the law of growth and attention. The more attention you give something, the more it grows. Okay, that's the law of love. So essentially, if we're looking at that spectrum, we want to make sure we give a lot of attention to things we want to grow. And you want to give a lot of attention and love to your purpose. It'll help you flourish in everything you do. So essentially, that's the pillars. Okay, it's maintaining momentum until you become that higher energy, the higher frequency. And sometimes things don't unfold. You can't even see things, okay, when you're at that lower frequency, until you get to that next frequency. And all of a sudden, new awarenesses come to you. Okay, new ideas come to you. You see things differently. More people come into your force field, I guess you could call it. Okay, that can help you. So again, we want to look for those things. We call those synchronicities. Okay, look for those things, and then again, raise your expectation for yourself. Raise your expectation. Raise your standards for yourself. Our standards are what will help guide our choices. When you raise your standards, okay, in everything that you do. Number one, let's say integrity. Okay, I ask people at the seminars that I go to, I said, how many people here think they have great integrity? Everybody's hands go up. And then a little while later, I'll say, how many of you guys in here have, said you're going to work out, start working out on Monday and go to the gym and start training hard and eating cleaner again because you just know you need to? Everybody's hand goes up. Everybody's done it. What happened on Monday? Something happens. You don't go. Some people might go for a week or a few days. So essentially what happens is, but most of us say we're going to do it, then we don't do it at all. And then we, give the justifications, excuses, and reasons for why we didn't do it. Okay, so essentially we're just lying to ourselves. So essentially my point here is this: if you are telling yourself that you're going to do something, but you don't do it, and you do it over and over again, essentially you've broken integrity with yourself. And if you don't truly have integrity with yourself, you don't really have it with anybody else. You can display it, of course, but you don't have true integrity. So integrity starts with you. So you want to raise your standards. Okay, integrity is doing what you say you're going to do to the best of your ability, even when no one is looking, because no one's looking most of the time. Okay, no one is looking most of the time. So you want to have integrity with yourself. And when you said you're going to do something, you do it to the best of your ability when no one is looking, always. So standard number one is increasing your integrity, because then you start doing things differently. Okay, those standards that we put into place, those characteristics that we put into place will drive our choices. And our choices drive our outcomes, our choice of what we think, the choices of what we say, and the choices of what we do. I'll end it there because I could go all day long. Okay, I'll go all day long, essentially. But again, we all have a purpose, okay, a mission, okay, your gift that is hidden within you that a lot of you have stifled. Okay, find that gift, cultivate that gift, build that purpose that gives you purpose-driven behavior where you can't wait to get out of the bed in the morning and be obsessed about making a difference, not only in your life, but all the people you love, the people around you. Okay, listen, when Jesus walked this earth, okay, he was the example of God realization, okay, being able to do things that nobody else could do, okay. He was preeminence, okay, doing something that is beyond what anybody else has done. Preeminence is when when everybody knows that you're the greatest in what you do, okay. So essentially, when I look at this, I look at a few different things. There's winning, there's losing, okay. And a lot of people don't want to look at it like that, but the bottom line is we can win on our lives every day by making the right choices, okay, by choosing to do the right things that we know will move us toward our purpose, okay. So essentially, it helps put us in control of our outcome. Okay, are we totally in control? No, there's so many things we don't have control, but we can control the controllables. Spirit, using spirit in our mind. That is what we need to control. Don't be out of control with that. Okay, a lot of people say, I just give away control because control, I get crazy when I try to control everything. Well, you can't control everything, but you can control how you think and what you think, and use that in your mind to create the energy in your body to get up and do what you need to do. If you're out of control, that's when you get stuck at that one end where you don't feel good. So essentially, again, there's dichotomies. Okay, and again, there's dichotomies of everything. Think about it. Either you're a leader of your life. Okay, you don't have to be a leader of other people, but if you want to be a leader of other people, you have to be a leader of your life first. Okay, either a leader, you're a follower, nothing wrong with being a follower, okay, or you're lost. Okay, that's the spectrum from leader to lost. Okay, everything goes from a higher to a lower potential. You get to choose who you're going to be. Okay, preeminence, like with Jesus. Okay, you got preeminence, you got dominance, or you got gave up on life. Okay, if you gave up and you don't care, you're just drifting, you're not doing anything. Okay, people don't like the word domination. They don't like the word, they don't like the word obsession. But the bottom line is they're different ends of the spectrum. Okay, so they stay away from those things. Okay, but the bottom line is if you have a choice between love, hate, and fear, you're always going to choose love. So we get to choose what side of the pendulum we're going to be able to be on. Okay, so if you're going to be on preeminence, godlike, choose that over giving up. Okay, you have offense. So again, if you're going to dominate something, you have to use offense or defense. Offense is when you're playing to win. Okay, defense is when you're trying not to lose. Okay, and we're always going to play both. We're always going to play both. But if you're playing to win, that means you have a plan. You have a plan to move forward today. What does it look like? What am I going to do? Are you going to always win? No, you're not. You got to lose sometimes. You got to fail sometimes. And it's a good thing. That's your learning ground. And then you move forward. Okay, so again, if you're playing offense, then you're being proactive. If you're playing defense, you're being reactive. Okay, so again, we have the opportunity every day to either attack on the higher end of the spectrum, or we can retreat. Okay, everything goes from a higher to lower perspective. Okay, so you can attack your life and move forward and make progress. Okay, somebody who's winning, they're usually attacking. They're playing offense. Okay, they're going after it. They have a plan. so you can attack your life daily to make an impact. Okay, that's what you should be doing. Okay, don't rest on the energy you have right now. That energy you're using right now, it's not enough. Okay, it's not enough. You have so much more energy, and you are an energy power plant that literally can empower the world. Okay, but you have to make the choice to think differently, okay, to have those thoughts, those feelings that empower yourself to get up and do something you haven't done before to empower the world. Okay, so essentially it's up to you. It's not up to anybody else. Okay, you have it control in your hand, okay, to make an impact. Okay, it's a choice every day in the way that you think and the things that are coming out of your mouth, not just coming out of your mouth, but the internal conversations that you're having, which are usually the most toxic. Change those internal conversations to empowering ones, using the words, I am strong, I am powerful, I am a leader, I am going to attack today, and I'm going to win today. Those type of words, okay? I am wisdom, I am knowledge, whatever it is, I am insight. Use those words. I use those words every single day. Okay, use the words I am. Okay, the internal conversation is key. Okay, but again, the things you think, the things you say, your internal conversations, the things you do. Okay, let's move forward today and every day, make an impact in your life and the people around you. Thank you guys for having me. I probably maybe overdid it here, but hopefully you guys can pull some nuggets out of this that will help move you forward, that'll help energize you and help you be motivated enough to do something different today than you did yesterday that's going to move you forward. Thank you.
Awesome, Jeremy. That was awesome. You know, I just think about like how, you know, you have done so well in your life. And, you know, I think about some of the stories. One of the stories that came to my mind, because it's just sort of a neat story, is when you decided to become a professional miniature golf player. Tell that story real quick, because I just think it's a really neat one.
Well, you know, I just turned pro in bodybuilding, which took me a number of years to be able to do, and a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment. And so, you know, during the time I was a bodybuilder, I had come up with, I was always attacking different goals in different areas, whether it was, you know, how, you know, buying, selling houses, fixing them up, whatever. I mean, I had so many different goals. I was always going after them. So I came up with the template that I just shared with you guys: purpose-driven behavior, commit responsibility, relentless action, indomitable spirit, maintain momentum, empowerment, transformation. That template I used for myself in everything that I did, and it literally helped me win over and over again. So I wanted to plug this in after I really applied it to bodybuilding and becoming the most photographed bodybuilder in the world and a number of different other things. And I plugged it into Putt-Putt Golf. I actually went to this event and I was just playing miniature golf and Putt-Putt Golf at this event, and they had this professional there. And I'm like, professional? I didn't even know they had professional miniature golf. I never even heard of it before. It was kind of foreign to me. I was like, how can that be a sport? And so it just kind of perplexed me. So I ended up talking to the guy, and he said, yeah, it took me 13 years to turn pro in miniature golf. I'm like, what? How in the heck? It took me 15 years to turn pro as a bodybuilder. How could it take somebody 13 years to be a professional miniature golf or putt-putt golfer? So I couldn't get it out of my mind, you know. So then I had to look up online to, you know, find out about the history of putt-putt golf and the pro status. And then I really started looking into it, saying, how do you qualify? So here's the qualifiers. You had to go here to do this, and then you had to go to the next level, just like any sport, you know. And so I thought to myself, well, I'm taking this year off of bodybuilding. Let me see how quickly I can turn pro if I were to apply the principles of what I teach to everybody else. And so I took this, I started in and started playing putt-putt golf every day and try to get better every day. And you can't just play putt-putt golf. You have to understand it and learn the things you don't know. And listen, there's so much that we know, there's so much that we don't know, but there's even more that we don't know that we don't know. So you have to experience things a lot of times to understand the don't know that you don't know. And so I would research it. I would, you know, become a problem solver and learning more about it. And, you know, understand that the angle of incident equals the angle of refraction, and you can't always go right at the hole, and understand that the people that are winning are almost getting a hole in one every time, which is really hard to do. Well, essentially, I just went out and started playing and started working the angle, started, you know, understanding the way it worked, you know, the swing pattern, all of it, and dissecting all of it. And so, long story short, I play and I go through and I start winning the events and winning the qualifiers, and I get to the pro qualifier where it's between me and this other guy who's been, you know, at it for years and years and years. And I hit almost a hole in one every one. I think I hit 1-2, two-stroke, and I end up turning pro in one season, not 1 year. I turned pro in one season. Okay, whereas that one guy that was the big pro that everybody loved took him 13 years. So essentially what I do is this: I show people how to go from where you are to where you want to be, and I condense it. The same thing I did in a program called Project 42 that I ran for years. Project 42 is a 42-day program of complete commitment and dedication to making major change in a very short period of time by plugging in all the key elements of what it takes to make major change. But you got to be dedicated for it. We won't let everybody in. Everybody's got to be committed to do it and be able to put the energy and effort into it. So to make that change, that's what I did in becoming pro as a putt-putt golfer. Is I plugged those things in, and I did it in one season. So I did it also in pro dodgeball. Okay, so I'm a professional in 3 different sports. Same thing. I plug those same elements in. Essentially what happens to this guy is, okay, listen, you may not have won a lot, and it doesn't matter if you have or you haven't. That's the difference between my brother and George and I. When I was in 8th grade, I was a swimmer, and I swam. I won over and over again. I swam 14 times, and I won every time, and I broke the records over and over again that are on the board that were there for 10 years after I left. And my brother George, he's one of those people that if he didn't win something, he got so angry, right, George?
Yeah.
He's so mad. He gets so mad that, he wanted to win so bad, but if he lost something, man, did he get mad. And so I think, we direct our minds to think differently. So George, I think, would kind of skirt away from trying to win something because it would make him mad if he didn't. You know what I mean? So we kind of, again, from the same family doing different things. Me, on the other hand, I started winning, and then I wanted to win even more. So I started looking at what happens, what is it that's in me that makes me want this? And so that's how I came up with that template. So I start winning, and then it becomes part of who I am, trying to win, but then trying to show other people how to win. And George, he's just, you guys know him. He has got a good heart. He is right here, right now. Not, and again, the only thing I'd encourage him to do is to start winning more and having those small wins that empower him to do more, because you guys know him, and I know that he can do great things in this world. He is doing great things, and I'm excited to see what he does. But you got to start with those small wins that build up the big wins.
He's doing it, Jeremy. He's doing it.
I know he's doing it. I know he's doing it. But I'm just saying the difference between us growing up, where
I wanted to bring that in, actually, because I was going to ask you, what was your drive, and what I've heard you say is that, I mean, it's something you've always been driven to do. You've always been competitive and had that drive, All right, I'll take it for an example. There's 2 things I want to say here. One is, when you talked about meeting people where they're at when they first come into your gym. Yes. First of all, Jeremy, I want to say that touches my heart so deeply, because my sister died when she was 50 because she was obese, and she did eventually lose five, we call it stones in England. She lost a lot of weight, and but it was a long time before people would give her any help because they saw her as a fat person, and there was a lot of judgment to that. If she'd have walked in, she was terrified of going to a gym because she was a big woman. So to know that there are people around that will meet somebody, because she really did, and the reason why she became obese is because trauma from a child. Okay, so there's sometimes people are, they have what's the word for it? They have eating disorders because of trauma. So we can't, you can't go straight in there and judge people. And they need, like you say, they need to. And the other thing I wanted to ask you is, where do the formulas work? Because you're talking about having the right mind, but you were also talking earlier on about this upgrade formula that helps the brain to, because she wouldn't have been able to just flip over into like.
No, it's a process. It's such a process. Yes. Yeah. That's why in this program that we did called Project 42, it was so much more about mindset. I would send videos every day about mindset to help change the mind. Listen, I can change anybody's body. It's easy to help somebody change their body and lose 50, 60, 70 pounds quickly. But if somebody didn't change their habits, behaviors, their rituals, then they'll always go back to, and again, change their mind. in this process, then people always go back to what they're familiar with, what they're used to, and what they've always done. And they'll always end up go back to having the same results. So essentially, the change of the body is really a change of the mind. Okay, so, but you got to show people the small wins. The small wins are what has to happen every day. So for your sister or for anybody else, it's showing them, hey, look at, you just lost 3 pounds. Congratulations, you're on the road to winning. You're doing so great. And you give them a hug, and then you say, let's do this again next week.
I
And you
love
give them that encouragement. You help show them that there's a better way, because sometimes they feel lost. What happens with somebody that's stuck in their body like that, they feel lost. They don't know what to do. There's so much misinformation out there. So for us, we would have, heavy ladies that need to lose 100+ pounds. And my team was like, here she comes. Here comes Linda. She's about to get out of the car. Should we go out and get her? I'm like, no. Her first thing she must do is walk through those doors. She has to have the courage to walk through those doors. I said, we make the impact when she walks through those doors, because her first hurdle is coming through those doors. And we'd see them open the door, put their foot out, put their foot back in, sit there for a few seconds, put their foot back out again, and then put it back in, and just teeter-totter. Once in a while, I might, talk to a person that's going out the door. One of the people that we've made an impact was say, hey, listen, Claudia, there's a lady out there who's supposed to be coming in here, and she's really struggling with it. Go out there and just, she didn't work for us. She's a client. So go out there and just give her a few words of encouragement, just to give her a nudge. And they go out and say, hey, here's my experience. You're going to love these guys. And just give them the, make them, listen, people have fear with the unknown, not know what to expect. They don't know what's inside those doors. They don't know we don't want to be judged. And those people have been judged over and over again. So we make sure that we go out of the way to make them feel so accepted, the true judgment-free zone, make them feel loved, make them feel like this is a comfortable space where they're going to be able to thrive, grow every single day, and give them those extraordinary moments that they deserve in their life that they haven't had. So that's essentially what we do. That's what we've always done.
I know that George does that in the Gene Keys. He's done it with me several times when I've needed some, some support. He's just listened and he's given that love. So, maybe it is in the family gene.
I'm sure it's part of it for
that.
sure.
I've got questions, but George, do you want to say something?
No, if you got more questions, go ahead.
Well, I have. One of my questions is and then it's really that, I mean, I was different from my sister in that we had different experiences. Even though we come from the same family, you have different experiences, and there might be somebody they call it the enlightening experience, where somebody comes into your life and inspires you. And I must have had that in my life, and my sister didn't necessarily have that in her life. Who inspired you, Jeremy, in your life too?
Well, I mean, I was fortunate enough to have parents that listened to self-improvement tapes from a very young age. They used to listen to like Dennis Waitley or to Anthony Robbins or just different, motivational speakers like that. And so whenever I was able to get my hands on some of the stuff that they had, I just remember listening to The Psychology of a Winner by Dennis Waitley. And I used to do my cardio walking out on the roads, and I listened to that tape over and over and over again, my Walkman, just over and over again. So it just becomes, again, part of what I could recite it, you know what I mean? And so I think that having that influence was a great one for me. But I say probably the biggest influence that for me was Wayne Dyer. I would have his Power of Intention in my truck every day for 5 years. And I listened to him every single day. And I'd find myself, going to wherever I was going, but I'd still sit in my vehicle for 15, 20 more minutes, just keep listening, even though I've heard it 100 times before. Sometimes you just hear it differently and it hits you differently. So I got to listen to that Power Intention over and over and over again. So I think that that's really had an impact on me, who I am, and the reason why I want to be able to make an impact. So it's I would say Wayne Dyer was my biggest mentor or teacher.
Yeah, I was in the early days. He was one of my inspirational teachers. I remember one of his lines is, "I'm not my hair."
Yes.
I'm not my hair.
And he had a good sense of humor. He had a great sense of humor. What I loved about him too is that he's so easy to listen to, and he always told great stories, and it just, for me, it was just you could tell he was speaking from his heart.
He was, and that I was going to say that as well. And I think really, I was because when I saw you, the bodybuild. I've got another funny story actually that connects with you in a way. In that about I was about 14, so about 20 years ago. I had a friend who, I don't know how old he was. He could have been 60, 70. He didn't tell me his age because he kept himself well, you know. And I didn't know him that well. And I said I'd go for a walk with him around Willen, the two lakes at Willen Lake in England. And these are two massive lakes, and you can walk all the way around them. And because of his age, and I didn't really know him that well, I thought I'd sort of slow down, and he was really walking at a pace. So I was trying to keep up with him actually. And then he said to me, he says, "I'll tell you what," he says, "I'm just going to go round the lakes and I'll meet you back here." And he ran round the two lakes and came back to me. And he was actually Mr. Atlas in his youth, and he was about 60 or 70. So it just shows, doesn't it, that if you look after your body, you know, you can't,
Yes.
you become ageless.
We
Um,
really do. We do. And it's
yeah.
so important. Again, you know, I know, you know, there's a lot of times when we get to a space where we feel like we're out of control, we don't have the answers, you know, we give up on things, you know, but there's always an answer out there. So you just have to put, again, faith, say, you know, write down what you want to know the answers to. Okay. Ask those questions. We need to ask ourselves better questions. And so when you write those questions down, okay, that's right. There's planting a seed too. Okay. Thought the idea, put that seed down on the paper and ask yourself those questions so that, and say, you know, and I want these answers. You know, I'm so happy and grateful that these answers are here for me. And you're going to be surprised at how those answers start coming to you. You know, so essentially, you know, the body is a power plant, and we get to use it again to propel us as our vehicle. It's our vehicle through this lifetime, and to be able to, again, get more done, be more, be excited, you know, make an impact, you know, all those different things. So, but we got to take care of it. You know, listen, if you don't take care of your car, you don't wash it, you don't put the right gas in it, you don't change the oil, you don't change the tires, you don't do the things you should do, then guess what? It breaks down and it doesn't go far. So we got to think of our bodies the same way. Okay. We need to be able to take special care of it. Okay. And that's important. It's important because it allows us to be able to make progress and move forward and just be our best self. The bottom line is, if you have the ability to be better, shouldn't you be? Right?
Yeah,
If you have the
right.
ability to be better, shouldn't you be?
Yeah.
I believe so. I believe you should.
You know, it's very. I could talk to you for hours. We have, you know, we have about 10, 15 minutes left. And I just want to say that, you know, I was unlike my sister who struggled because she had emotional problems, and this is why I'm going back to what you said. You know, fantastic. First of all, I want to say that you know, you said, you know, if you look after your body, but it's also good to have an expert to help you to look after your
Sure.
body, because you know, you're a biochemist, you've looked at all the different ways the body works. And the same as if I'm doing the, you know, I want to study higher consciousness, I'm studying the gene keys, which of course we talk about. You have to anchor into your purpose. So I can see why you and George will have some fascinating conversations, because you do meet in the middle all the way,
Right.
because the middle for you is coming from the heart. The other thing I wanted to say that was very, I had a heart opening, an understanding, a realization a couple of years ago, and that is that most of my life I've been fit. You know, I walked everywhere, I cycled everywhere, I watched my diet, and then I got very stressed. I got onto the treadmill. I was trying to run a business, hold a relationship that was onto a relationship that was toxic, and I got into financial debt, lost my business, lost everything, and I got ill, and my thyroid packed up because of the amount of stress I put myself under by trying
Yes.
to hold on to something. So I went from hyperthyroidism to hypo, put a lot of weight on, and for the first time in my life, and my muscle tone went, because it breaks down your muscle tone. You probably know more
Yep.
about it than I do. For the first time in my life, I wasn't able to just get up, get on a bike, or go swimming, or go to yoga. All I could do was lie in bed. I'm now on medication, and I am, you know, but most people go, oh, thyroid, you know, and they don't really have an answer for it of what to do. So I've quit all the toxins in my body. Final one was coffee. I committed to it. That was the hardest one recently. You know, body ache, headaches, and whatever, but I've committed to it. And I am taking medication. So I think maybe at some point, maybe you could give me some advice on what would be good for me to do for the thyroid.
Absolutely. You know, what's happening, you talked about a number of different things. And again, for every action, there's a reaction. And so essentially, it's a cascade of things that happen in your life that started causing a depletion in your body. So again, when you start having adrenal fatigue because of the amount of stress that you've had, adrenal fatigue being your body is overproducing stress hormones and making your body catabolic. Again, your thyroid and your muscle works hand in hand. So if your body's consistently catabolic, what happens is that lack of muscle tissue and the breakdown of it now starts creating an issue with the thyroid, and it decreases the amount of thyroid stimulating hormone that your body creates, and also the conversion of T4 into T3. I don't need to get into all that, but the bottom line, what happens is, in order for you to be able to even produce thyroid hormones, you have to have two things. You have to have iodine and you have to have tyrosine. So what happens is, though, we get very depleted in iodine. Iodine is very easy to deplete because it's in the halogen group of elements. Okay, if you're having too much chloride, too much bromide, okay, and too much fluoride, those three things, they all cancel out and neutralize iodine. Okay, so iodine is one of the best detoxifiers in our entire system, and it's in every cell of our body. So without that iodine, your body's not detoxifying. So if your body's not allowing itself to rid itself of those toxins because the iodine is depleted, now you become toxic. And essentially that's what happened. You had the weight gain, you had the sluggishness, the problem becomes increasingly worse as time goes on, and now you have a major thyroid issue. Okay, so essentially, if you guys that are even on this call, I would recommend it for everybody. Get some iodine. Okay, what I do every day, my brother will tell you, I take Himalayan pink sea salt. I put it in alkaline water, a little bit, a couple, and now because it binds. Okay, it's a binder. I don't need to get into the chemistry of it. Iodine binds to it. I put about 10 drops of iodine in it, and I drink it because most people that have polyps, or they have any type of a growth, or things of that nature, a lot of those things are caused from an increase of, or lack of, of iodine in your system. And it'll help get rid of those cysts that are in the system that we don't know that they have, but they start growing and they become solid. So essentially iodine is required. So essentially what's happening there is you probably were maybe consuming maybe too much medicinal water, maybe too much fluoride, too much bromide that's in a lot of the things that we consume nowadays, and it literally depleted that iodine, which caused a number of different issues. Of course, that will also be depleted also when we are under stress, when our adrenal system is being broken down, or overproducing those stress hormones.
Brilliant.
Hopefully
Thank you.
that wasn't too intricate.
I'm going to do that. Yeah, drink some.
So that's a simple thing to do. Get some iodine. You can get it right out of Amazon. And it helps to detoxify your system. It's a great detoxifier.
Brilliant.
Put it in your water. Drink it every day.
Awesome. Yeah, Akushi, that's Jeremy. He makes you speechless, because he has so much information. I mean, it's just like he said, he could talk all day long, but based on the time, constraints that we have, it's probably about time to wrap it up. I got to go back to work over here.
Yeah, you don't want to upset the boss.
I know, right?
I'm the easiest boss. I'm the easiest boss he's ever had.
Oh, yeah. Is he?
Yeah. I'm the best boss he's ever had. Is that right, George?
Yeah, that's right. That's right. You're the boss, applesauce.
Are you in the same room?
No, he's in Syracuse. No. I'm in Florida.
All right, then. Okay. I just want to quickly say that, we've had some lovely people listening today, and they've really appreciated everything that you've had to say. Love in Action from Robin Cabral. The Emotions and Desires Behind Intentions, Amani Grace Hurst. She's brilliant. Forecast Creative Purpose, Empower Now. Massive Relentless Action. Don't say you're going to do it if you have no intention to. It isn't attainable because the heart isn't in it. Divine comes in when we align. So this is Pauline and Robin and Candice and Amani and several people. So if you pop in the cafe, and then we'll send it round to all the people that weren't able to make it today. Thank you so much, Jeremy. It has been an absolute
my true pleasure.
Yeah.
And
thanks, Jeff.
Thank you, George, for inviting your brother and being here.
Yeah.
Sorry you didn't get much chance to speak, but you get to speak to him all the time.
Hey, I knew this was the Jeremy show right here when I got him on here. He has all the wisdom and knowledge and the life experience to back it up.
You're gonna have to have George on again so George can talk about George.
Yeah,
George,
well, I mean, it's gonna happen. It's gonna happen.
yeah, he is coming on. George is coming on to talk about George, and yes. Anyway, for all listeners that are listening today and in the future, thank you very much, and we'll see you next week. And God bless you all, and thank you again.
All right.
Thank you.